County Republican Club, call to order. Next item of business will be the invocation. Mindy's not here, is she? Would you like to give an invocation for us, please, Mr. Kirk?
Thank you. Father, we're thankful for all of your blessings, your mercy, and your love to us. We thank you for your guidance and direction. We pray that you would guide and direct our thoughts and our actions as we seek to serve you better. In Jesus' name.
Amen. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item will be the treasurer's report. I am getting her online.
Just turn your volume up.
Where do I have
You're on speaker already.
There you go.
that? All right. We will have,
Volume all the way up.
okay, let's see about the volume.
You did so well. Good, good.
All right.
Use the side buttons.
He got it.
Okay, let's get rid of this one. Oh, that's not the one I want to get rid of.
You can get rid of me. I'm good. I'm here.
I don't have you on my phone though.
Oh.
It's okay, we don't have to see her. Yeah.
Yes, you do.
You hear her.
We here.
Okay, we have someone that says they can hear you. All right.
There she is.
So what do we have in the bank?
Oh, are we there already?
Yeah.
We have 11,000. No,
We have food.
$11,208.15.
$1,000.
$208.15.
Okay. Do we have any outstanding obligations or expenses?
Not right this second. You paid USPS $192.11. So as of now, no, unless there's something that's come in.
And cash on hand, do we have any?
$380. And there is a $1,850 deposit tomorrow.
Okay, what's that gonna be from, do we know?
That's from ticket sales and ad sales.
All right, great.
How much was that last to be deposited?
1,850.
1,850. So that's, all of this is on top of the 11,000.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, there'll be no questions. Hang on so that you can hear the report of the audit committee by Ron Kirk.
Oh, my turn.
Yes.
Can you come closer to the phone so I can hear him, please?
I'll try.
Thank you, sir.
First off, this is the audit committee's report for the year 2024. And want to thank the members of the committee, Barbara Tuckbuller and Bob Walkup, for their help. And we also want to thank our treasurer, Ali, not only for taking care of the books and all that, but the filling out all the campaign finance reports that she has to do to the state, and all of her help in the club parades and all of the activities. And I'm happy to report that the committee found all of the books in order and all the expenditures accounted for. We began 2024 with a balance in the account of $11,214.16. We had a total income in 2024 of $6,161.89. We had a total expenditures of $9,439.14. And that left us with a balance on December 31st, 2024 of $7,936.91 in the bank. And of those expenditures, some of the major expenditures, we gave $5,500 to Republican candidates in the election. We paid $1,210.32 for our state fair, the booth, and the expenses related to that. For various parades and shows and handouts and things like that, it was $1,018.30. We paid $889 for printing, and our website expenses for the year $221.72. Miscellaneous office supplies and stuff were $60-some. And as you mentioned, cash on hand, I have it at $382.72. Small amount for some gifts and honorariums for different things. And so that's the major expenses that we had throughout the year. And everything looks good. So we're happy to report.
Barbara, did you need anything or needed?
Well,
Would you
I'm
like
just
all
gonna
those
ask to see the report.
totals? I'll give a copy of the report to the temporary secretary.
General Secretary. Interim.
Acting. It's an acting.
We'll just get a copy and I just attach it to the minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If I can have this one,
Yeah,
do you need?
I thought I had another non-scribbled out copy
No,
that.
that's all
You can email it to me.
The one with scribbling on it from the committee head is the authenticated copy.
That's the one, anyway.
Any questions?
I move we accept the treasurer's report.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? There are none. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Do you want to hang around as part of this meeting, Ally?
I have a motion that you should ought to hang on for. I think everybody knows that Sue Spicer passed away recently,
Yes.
and we attended her visitation and noticed in her obituaries that she had a great affinity for dogs and animals. So I would move that we donate $100 to the Humane Society in a memoriam for her.
I second that motion.
Motion made and seconded that we have a contribution for the animal shelter, is that it?
The Humane,
Humane Society.
Greenbrier County Humane Society.
right.
Made and seconded. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yes.
Okay, one opposed. Motion passes. So thank you for that. Next item, we have a visitor, Alex Gaaserud, like to address the club. Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Alex Gaaserud. Some of you have met me here for the first time today. I look forward to coming back to Greenbrier County to connect with the club for future dates. I'm running for the United States Senate in the Republican primary of 2026. I'm doing this for several reasons. I feel that West Virginia has been left behind. We do not have conservative leadership in the state of West Virginia, particularly in the United States Senate. Senator Capito has been in office for 25 years at the federal level. West Virginia has the worst workforce participation rate in the nation. It has a failed education system where they're actually, including the District of Columbia, we rank 51st. We have the worst infrastructure in the country. We have the worst public health outcomes in the country. We have the lowest income. Our state is defined by generational poverty and addiction. We lead the nation in all the wrong categories, whether it be childhood obesity or overdose deaths per capita. We lead the nation in flight of young people. We have continued to see decades of our young people leave to never return. And we have to get new leadership in the state of West Virginia desperately. And I can do that in the United States Senate. I got my start in politics during the second congressional race. We ran for Congress in the northern part of the state. We did very well in that race. We're not in Congress today, but we won a lot of people's hearts and minds. And what we found is we were the second choice for a lot of people that weren't voting for their preferred candidate. So we have consolidated support in the north. And I've talked to a lot of people that think we should take Senator Capito on in 2026 and take our outreach to the southern part of the state. It's very important that we bring generational change to the United States Senate and to Washington, D.C. We are one of the oldest, if not the oldest, sickest, poorest state in the country. And we can make a real change by sending the youngest United States Senator in the country to go fight for us, to go fight for conservative values, and to take on the business as usual in Washington, D.C. My biggest issue in my race for the second district was immigration. I was calling for the deployment of the United States military to the southern border, to authorize lethal force and not allow people to just come into our country without any ramifications. I was arguing for mass deportation task forces to be implemented and executed to where we round up a lot of these illegals that came in during the treasonous Biden administration, or even in the last 20 years with the open border policies of the United States. Third component of that policy was to change asylum in U.S. law, no longer allow people just to show up here and claim a right to be in our sovereign nation. And I'm thankful today that we now see border crossings at a 25-year low. We have a responsible government in Donald Trump that has taken this issue off of the table. But we know that elections happen every 4 years at the presidential level. And we will need to have a border hawk, whether it's a day from now, 4 years from now, or 40 years from now, that can make sure that what happened never happens again, with our police officers being killed or women being raped and your tax dollars paying to put illegal aliens in hotel rooms. My second biggest issue in that race was our debt. Almost $37 trillion runaway debt. We're headed the way of the Roman Empire economically. It's a national security threat to continue on with this debt. We can't afford to pay the interest on the debt. So what I want to do is send a new voice to Washington, D.C. that doesn't do what Capito does, which is threaten lawmakers and put together these wasteful, ridiculous spending packages, omnibus packages, that send your tax dollars all over the country. I want to get back to regular order, the way the government was intended to be funded, with 12 single subject appropriation bills. We have to fund our government responsibly. And we used to do it that way, but we haven't done it since about 1997. It has to change. So I'm going to be a fiscal hawk as well. Another reason that you need to send me to the United States Senate is to send a message to these evil nations that hate us, whether it be Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, Ukraine, these terror syndicates, that we are not going to allow these nations to dictate terms to us. There's a new generation of leader on the scene today in the 21st century that is going to set the agenda and stand up to these countries and no longer allow these countries to take advantage of us. We need somebody to be able to articulate that and put the rest of the world on notice that what you've expected and what you've experienced with politicians in this country over the many decades is no longer the status quo. Energy independence is huge for me. We have got to unleash our energy exploration. We have all kinds of coal and natural gas in West Virginia specifically that needs to be tapped into. It will give people jobs, it will give people hope, it will allow people to stay here, it will increase our standard of living. So I'm going to vow to you today that I'm going to take on the EPA and try to roll back 3 decades of punitive laws that have cut us off from being able to extract our God-given resources here in the United States, as well as the regulations that are entailed. I want to bring the first coal-fired power plant online in the country to West Virginia specifically. That's something that I want to fight on. I'm pro-life, I'm pro-gun, I'm pro-God. I believe that we need a new style of leadership in West Virginia. We need to inspire our people. When I go into a school and I talk to a middle schooler or a high schooler where mom's dead, dad's in jail, and they're living with their grandparents, I can relate to those people. Senator Capito can. Now, how can I relate to him? Not because I've gone through similar situations, but because I grew up with a generation of West Virginians that suffer from addiction and poverty and sexual abuse. We've got to change the image of West Virginia. We've got to inspire our people to stay here, to work here, to live here, to play here. And it's going to take a new leader to do that. It's going to take a new style of leadership to do that. It's very important that we get back to service-oriented politics. These politicians today can't be trusted to do what is right anymore. George Washington is a great example of virtue in our country's history. He forged a new country, he got that country started, and then he went home to run his farm. We currently see people in Washington, D.C. that stay shackled to the same seats in the same positions my entire life. They can't be trusted to do the right thing and go home after a while. They need wheeled out of there at 92 years old like Dianne Feinstein. It's got to stop. We have got to get more virtuous politicians in our society, specifically in Washington, D.C. If I looked at the record of the last 25 years of Senator Capito's service, and I was Senator Capito, I'd say it's time to go. I'm clearly not the answer. We're last in everything important. We're first in the worst metrics and worst categories that are even put together. But they don't leave, they continue. I also believe that we need to have a constitutional amendment that bars any members of Congress, including their spouses, from trading stocks or securities. And with that, we also need to impose term limits. We can't allow people like Nancy Pelosi to stay in the same seat for over 4 decades. Nancy Pelosi, on her salary in the United States Congress, would have had to have served for over 3,000 years to have amassed the amount of wealth that she has amassed in her time in Congress. Mitch McConnell has been in the United States Senate since 1984. It's ridiculous to think that these people that have been there forever and that are at the age that they're at are in top mental faculty to fight for us and to give us the voice that we need to lead us into this century. I'll definitely take some questions. I don't want to sit here all night. I could sit here all night and talk to you about these issues. Little background on me, I got a college degree in political science from Davis and Elkins College. I was on my debate team. And I learned there how dangerous the neo-Marxist perspective is. They were telling me crazy stuff in these academic settings. I was taking on a Harvard Yale-educated professor. I was taking on sometimes 10 to 20 leftist to neo-Marxist students at a time. They were telling me they were going to change the name of my football team because the logo was offensive, even though a Native American created it. They told me that because I was born in 1992 and I'm a white male, that I'm responsible for the previous historical injustices, whether it be slavery or the Indian Removal Act of 1830 or Jim Crow. and that I should be penalized in the society today to atone for those sins of the past. That was the first place where I ever heard the terms diversity, equity, and inclusion, which was this philosophy that was based off dividing our society on race, class, ethnicity, gender, religion. I also need to go to Washington, D.C. to make sure that we continue to extinguish this thought process, to this ideology that we saw run rampant in our country for the last 4 years and really for many decades now. We need to have somebody on the front lines that can fight for us and make sure that what happened over the last 4 years and the last several decades never is allowed to happen again. We have to stay on watch. I'll end with the transgenderism. We also have to send somebody that's going to not allow our society to condone transgenderism as normal or as acceptable. It is a mental illness, and we need to make sure that we classify it as that. This thing of being compassionate on this issue, I just simply don't believe in it. Donald Trump said it best in the State of the Union. Everyone that is born that is a child of God is perfect the way that they were made. And we have to stand up to this perverse ideology. You might think the Democrats and the left are dead right now, and they are. They're demoralized, they're defeated, and they're done in a lot of ways. But they will try to come back. This perverse ideology will try to make its way back, and we have to have somebody that's on the front line that's able to fight for us. I'll take any questions that anybody might have. Ask me anything.
Yeah, I'm just sort of curious. You were obviously a lone voice when you were in college.
Yes.
So how does one person go about fighting 10 or 20?
Yeah, very difficult, and you know, I was made like this. I've always had a calling to public service since I was a kid, and I had been studying conservative thought, conservatism, and what it is to be I was a Republican before it was popular to be one in West Virginia. So I had some natural, inclinations on how to fight this. I had education as well. I was able to take these people on and defeat their ideas. So I would be in these classrooms and they would come up with these Marxist lines of argument, and I would sit there and I would defeat it. And it was just something that came natural to me, but it also was something that I was able to justify through argumentation and learning and studying some of these people, whether it be Karl Marx or Immanuel Kant or Carl Jung or any of these sorts of philosophers. But at that time, they were trying to indoctrinate our group of people. They were trying to indoctrinate, and I was somebody that was immune from being indoctrinated. But I had to take it a step further. When I left that school, I thought, there's no way that any of this stuff these people arguing was going to come true. This was just something in an academic setting. Did my debate club, went all over the state and country debating. And then when I left school, almost everything that those people were arguing for at that time has come to pass in one form or another, including changing the name of my football team. So while I was defeating these people in real time with their thoughts and their ideas, what they were arguing for was something that was bigger than me, that had already caught on in the society, and it was already in the process of being implemented, specifically during the Obama years. This was right during the Obama years. So, they were able to accomplish a lot of this evil neo-Marxist doctrine, but it was very difficult taking on a Harvard Yale-educated professor every day and 10 or 12 or even sometimes 20 students that are against you, because I was a lone conservative in these liberal arts schools.
I'm sorry, Davis and Elkins is a liberal arts school.
Right. There was good aspects to it. There's critical thought and what have you, but it's the indoctrination in academia. And we see that today in our society. For the last 30 years, our society has been indoctrinated by this left-wing agenda, by this Marxism. And these people now, they run our corporations, they run our media, they are in these, and I'm not talking about politicians in the government, but they've been entrenched in the government for a long time within the bureaucracy. So,
What's the difference between thought, thinking, and critical thinking?
well, being able to to analyze, evaluate, and come up with an argument
Is
that.
that not like thought?
No, critical thought's a little different.
Is
It's
it really?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, common sense thought, but being able to look at something, discern why it's wrong, and articulate why it's
All
wrong.
right.
Exercise skepticism constructively.
Yes.
Okay.
Bob, you had a
Yeah.
question?
Yes. Yeah. So you were talking about breaking the budget up into the 12 parts. So I pick on the farm bill because I think 60% of the farm bill is for social things to me, like, providing school lunches. It has nothing to do with farms. It's more of a social thing. Is that one of the things that would be broke up into separate things, or?
Yeah. So, I mean, right now the federal government is doing so much and has its hands and tentacles in so many different areas that if our founding fathers looked at our government today, they would say you either need to come up with a new social contract or you need to have a revolution. Because the federal government has gotten so far out of its size and its scope. So we have to redefine the federal government. One of the things that I ran on in the 2nd Congressional District and that I'm still running on today, and it seems like I'm copying it because it's actually being put into place, is reducing the amount of people that work in government. I also believe that we have to reduce these 3-letter agencies, whether it's the EPA or the FDA or the ATF or the EPA. You can go on and on with these agencies. They all need to be reduced in size and scope. We need less people working in government. We need to get the federal government out of doing more than out of doing what they're doing currently. It's just so far off the rails. But the single subject appropriation bills, we're no longer lumping everything into one massive bill, because what happens is they lump everything into one massive bill. Nobody reads it. Everybody that doesn't go, if you don't go along with it, then they either threaten you with a primary challenger, they threaten your position, they will take any legislation that you're working on that is near and dear to your heart or your state or your district and kill it. And they'll also hold any dollars for your district or your state hostage. So the way that they're doing business in Washington, D.C., has facilitated not only the reckless runaway tax dollars that are being wasted all over that they're taking from you, but it's also fostered this environment of fear. So getting back to 12 single subject appropriation bills means you're going to have to vote on those 12 single subject bills separately. Defense, energy, and what have you as you go through it.
And then another thing is with the education department being dissolved.
Right.
How would you help West Virginia's state government
Right.
control the education
Great
of
question.
our kids?
So that's a great question. That's one of the reasons I'm also running for a federal office, because we need to send somebody that's young and dynamic that can change the way that we think about this, inspire our people. But we ultimately have to have somebody that can exert pressure on lawmakers. We right now need to change our education system and bring it into the 21st century knowledge-based economy. We need to get more vocational. We need computer science. We need to create a new generation of coders. We need people that can operate heavy machinery. We need people that can do HVAC work. We need people that are able to meet the demands of our economy today, whether it's plumbing, electricians, you name it. So what I'd like to see is retrofitting our middle schools and our high schools to foster a more trade and a more tech-focused learning environment. So when we kick these kids out at 18 years old, they have a little bit of an idea of something that they can do that's applicable to the economy, applicable to the marketplace, and they also, with that, have financial literacy and also critical thought to where they know how to open a business. They know how to handle credit. They know, they're not sure what to do, and they go work at the local construction company, and after a few years, they know they can start their own construction company. Not only can they start their own construction company with the skills that they've learned, but they're also able to manage it financially. So we need to introduce financial literacy, critical thought, and then change the way that we're doing business in the 21st century education system. Now, I don't trust West Virginia specifically. I wanted to fund the Department of Education. I want to return this money back to the states. The Department of Education was founded in the late 70s during the Carter administration. Educational attainment since that time has continued to decline in the United States. We're at abysmal rates as well. I also want to audit these schools. We need to be going into these schools and finding Johnny and Sally who can't read, who can't write, who are having trouble grasping simple mathematical concepts. And we need to go in there and pay attention to those people and audit that, get them the help that they need, and then retrofit our schools. And we're going to need somebody at the federal level to be able to lead on that and provide leadership and direction for how we make that change. Because ultimately what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to fix our education system, which will in a lot of ways help our economy, help spur jobs, help give businesses the green light to come here, fix our infrastructure, fix our education. Businesses will come here. Now all of a sudden, people that are born and raised here that choose to go to school here, whether it's WVU or it's Marshall or it's D&E or Wesleyan or Concord or any of the variety of schools that we have, they want to stay here, raise a family, start a business, work, and be involved. So, and then once we can get that in place, we get the inspirational leadership, we fix the education system, we get the economy and economic opportunity humming, we then can work on the generational sexual and drug abuse that we have in the state. So in some cases, there's been so much damage done that we have to start fresh with a new generation. But to get a new generation brought into this system, and we have to fix the education system, but we also have to inspire these people in a different way. So it's going to start with the kids right now that are suffering, the kids that are being raised by their grandparents. Sending somebody like me into a school with my wife, my family, and talking to those people and saying, hey, it doesn't have to be like this. This isn't how life is supposed to be. I lived in North Carolina briefly for a few years at a company that I worked for. And that society, that place, it operates totally different in a lot of respects than we do here. So we have to change the image of the state. Education's going to be at the forefront, but I don't trust the state to be able to handle the education dollars right now. Like, if there's one state in the country that defunding and dismantling the Department of Education and dissolving it and returning this power back to the states, if there's one state that can't handle that responsibility right now, it's West Virginia. Yeah. And we saw that with the recent pandemic dollars. Yes.
How do you get rid of the consolidated schools and get back to the local schools so the parents get to know the teachers?
Population. So we've continued to hemorrhage our young people. We're one of the oldest states. We have more deaths than births. And a lot of our able-bodied people are drug addicted. They're touched by addiction. So we've lost a lot of West Virginians very early on. And if we don't change our education, our economy, our infrastructure, get the new style of inspirational leadership that I can bring, we're going to continue to go to consolidation and dissolvement. Right now, they're talking about dissolving a township in Harrison County because there's not enough people there anymore. We've seen it all over our state where our schools are continuing to be consolidated, which ruins our educational attainment, which ruins our community spirit. I want to see West Virginia get back to where we're building schools. We're getting more local. You know, if the founders saw how our system is right now, they'd say it's so screwed up, I don't know what to do. Because it should be local, state, federal. But everything, especially in West Virginia, is now federal, state, and there isn't even much of a local anymore. You know, local politics, local schools, local communities, local libraries, they've all gone by the wayside. And these people keep coming to you year after year, cycle after cycle, saying, elect us, elect us, elect us, while the schools continue to go away, while your drinking water is unsafe, while there's less people in the state. There's seniors in high school right now that are counting down the days till June to where they can leave and never return.
But like Greenbrier County, we had 8 high schools.
Right.
And now we have 2. Junior high school and high school have 15% qualified English and mathematics.
Right.
And they eliminate school education time, the classroom, and increase that time that they took away from the classes to teach teachers. But they won't tell you how they're teaching the teachers, and I suspect it's that DEI.
It was, yes, it absolutely is. The other problem that we have in West Virginia is a lot of people that are teaching in West Virginia, teachers, they're teaching subjects that they're actually not even certified in to be teaching. Like, and it's even worse than that. You know, when I was growing up, we never had to worry about not having a bus driver. I didn't ride the bus a whole lot except for extracurricular activities. But today, kids wake up every morning in this state, in almost every single county, and they and their parents are unsure if they're going to be able to get to school today on a bus because we have a bus driver shortage. We have kids that go to school every single day that aren't sure what time they're actually going to be able to eat breakfast or lunch because there's a deficiency, there's a lack of people that are in the school cooking meals, lack of school cooks, custodians. We have some of the dirtiest schools in the state right now because we don't have adequate custodian staff. And all of this can be linked to the piss poor leadership of this state for the last 30 years, my entire life. And it's also linked to the flight of people. We have some of the brightest, best people that are produced in the entire country, especially when you look at a per capita basis. And almost all of them leave here to never return. We have people that come to WVU and Marshall University from other states that don't stay, they leave. We need to be retaining the people that are born and raised here because we have a lot of good people that are born and raised here, but we also need to be retaining people that choose to come to West Virginia to be educated. And we are not able to do that right now. And I'm not telling you that this is going to be a quick fix. My biggest worry is that this is going to take 30 years of my life, and I'm going to show back up to a room like this and say, hey guys, we're finally in the top third of states when it comes to education, infrastructure, workforce participation, public health. But that is if we knock it out of the park and we get coordinated leadership and the right leadership. So unfortunately, consolidation is going to, and dissolvement of localities and towns is something that is going to continue to be in our future. Anybody that tells you West Virginia is doing well right now is lying to you. We're a state that will continue to decay if we don't make these changes sooner than later. Any other questions?
I think another thing on education is I think we need to have merit-based teachers instead of just teachers. Because I know of teachers that teach fourth grade and they receive students from third grade that can't read or do math.
Right.
They don't know the multiplication table in fourth grade. She has to teach them that so that they can go on in fifth grade. So somewhere along the line, the teachers aren't doing their job and they've been there forever.
Yeah, the teachers are also having to do more than they've ever had to before. They're playing psychologist, they're playing parent, they're playing disciplinarian. They have kids. When I was growing up in public school, everybody could read or write a little bit. Mm-hmm. Today, and a lot of that was because we would write notes and different things. Technology has advanced so quickly on us as a society that it has left rural America, particularly rural, sick, uneducated America in West Virginia behind. So we have to get more creative, and what I want to do and what the state of West Virginia needs to do, what the governor needs to do, what lawmakers need to do, what people that, especially if we disband the Department of Education, federal lawmakers need to put policy in place to where we show up to, and it sounds kind of like a big government idea, but who else is going to do it? The localities aren't going to be able to do it or enforce it. So this is a job where the state government has to come in, they have to get with the teachers, and they have to say, okay, Mrs. So-and-so, you've got 6 kids in your class here that are supposed to be in 8th grade and they're at a 4th grade reading level. You've got a group of kids over here that aren't grasping these concepts and those concepts. And the teachers, some of the teachers are going to need to be cleared out. But we're not going to get good teachers in place if we don't have good roads and jobs and opportunities. So it is all something that we have to work on in unison. We have to make these changes in unison, and we have to be consistent with that. And we have to give some other people a chance to try to hit the ball. Not even hit the ball out of the park, just hit the ball out of the infield, which our current congressional delegation and legislature is unable to do. Whether the legislature is dominated by Democrats, which it was for 80 years, or it's dominated with supermajorities of Republicans today, the results are still the same. It's an abysmal track record. And we have to get better people running for these offices, not just the U.S. Senate, Congress, but particularly your local delegates. People will say, what's your experience to be in the United States? There's no experience clause in the Constitution. Why you're not independently wealthy? There's no clause in the Constitution that says you have to be independently wealthy. But when you look at Charleston, how many people there are not a lawyer, not a doctor, not a business owner, not somebody that's independently wealthy? We have to get good candidates, and that's the job of these Republican executive committees that haven't done their job in so long. We've got to get people that are focused on public service, that have policy ideas and solutions, and that aren't afraid to take on the society. A lot of good people don't get into politics for good reason these days, but it has to change. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, and one last thing, I'm sorry. On my card there, Gaaserud4wv.com, that's my website you can go to. If you hit donate, you can donate there. You can also email me if you'd like to donate personal information. Thank you.
Mr. Gaaserud, how do we approach the recruitment of people who run for local politics? Is there a suggestion that you would have?
Yeah, so one of the things you've got to do to recruit local candidates, one of the things you have to do is you have to get, and it's going to be a little bit harder here, but or just in general, you've got to get young Republicans in place. So I started a Young Republican Club in 2008 election cycle, and we did various candidate canvassing. We debated the Young Democrats. We learned what it was to be a Republican, what it was to be conservative. But you have to start people off in public service early on. You know, right now it's a pretty easy sell because J.D. Vance is 40-year-old vice president that's a rock star. But J.D. Vance, a lot like myself, was thinking about politics and thinking about public service and how to fix some of the issues that plague our society from a young age. So the key is to get people involved at a young age. And now, you don't want to fill people up with false confidence or tell people that, you're going to be the next president of the United States. I want you to start a Young Republican Club. Some of that has to come naturally, but you have to get involved in the community where you do find younger people and you bring them into the fray. And I sound a little ageist at times because I'm constantly talking about how old and sick and poor we are as a state and all this. But it takes the older generation, people like Doug here, people that have been involved in Republican politics or Republicanism for a long time, to get a new generation involved at the high school level, to get a new generation involved at the executive committee level, to get people to run at younger ages for offices like Board of Education or City Council. And what that takes is a little bit of a recruitment effort. You're going to have to go out and identify people in your community that are able to do this. You're going to have to find people that you can put in place to foster this group. I had 17, 18-year-old, 16, 14-year-old people that were paying dues, paying $10 dues a month to be a part of my Young Republican Club at my high school. And a lot of people joined that club not because they were political. A lot of them aren't political today, but they're people that are successful in different areas of their life. They've gone on to be, entrepreneurs in my community, in Elkins. And you've just got to get people involved. They don't have to be eating and sleeping and breathing politics like people like me or J.D. Vance did as a kid. But just getting them involved and getting them to civically participate is going to create much better outcomes to where and I thought you also have to have some discipline to it. I wanted to get right into politics right after college, but I never had a real job yet. How are you going to lead people when you've never even really participated in the society at all, even on a base level? So it's all about tempering expectations, but it's going to be a recruitment level. You have to go to your high school, find somebody, identify people in the community. You all should be trying to find people that are in their 20s or their 30s or even their 40s to come to these meetings here. Because if you can get people in here, not Benny Anderson, but if you can get people in here and get them recruited and get them to cooperate, then that's your next generation of leader. And in West Virginia, it's super important to do this because we have so few young people in the state. That's one of the main things. This is the job of the West Virginia Republican Party. This is the job of the state party, the Greenbrier County Executive Committee, even the Greenbrier Republican Club. Your job is to go out here and to recruit membership, bring people into your club, into your committees, into your county leadership that are able to pass the torch. I talked to a lot of chairs that have been doing this for decades, and a lot of them don't even want to do it anymore. But they're not willing to go out in their community and recruit people, and the state party won't help them do it. And we need to pass the baton off to some of these people. We're not doing a good job of that. But yeah, it starts at a local level, but it also, if you have the right state party apparatus, you have the right leadership in the state party, they could facilitate and foster a lot of this stuff. And it's not hard. You just go to high school and you find some of these people. They're going to be playing sports. They're going to be civically, they're going to be good students. Maybe they're not good students. You're going to know when you come across these people. And with the age of Trump, this is easier than it's ever been. I was doing this in a state when John McCain was running against Barack Obama. Like with Donald Trump, the Donald Trump factor, this is easier than ever. And these kids are out here. You see it. They're wearing MAGA hats. They've got MAGA bumper stickers. I know people, Donald Trump is gossip. He has brought people into the political process that had never voted, that had never volunteered, that had never donated. He's got people in the political process now that prior to 2016, prior to 2020, prior to 2024, they had never voted, they never watched the news, they never volunteered for candidates, and they've never donated. They're all doing that now. They're voting, they're donating, they're volunteering. It's easier than ever in the age of Trump.
Amen.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
I had texted Trey Holland. I'm gonna. It's amazing how when it's turned the right way, it will work for you. But I had talked with Trey Holland about the idea of participating in conversations with legislators. He has written back, sorry, but I will not be able to make the meeting tonight. My sister's in town. But he says, I would like to report that setting up a booth or table for the legislative session appears to be a no-go. I spoke with the coordinator and all spots are reserved entirely for the entirety of the session, but we have been put on a cancellation list. With the new administration, everyone is out advocating this year. It is worth noting that we would have been the only political club to be setting up this year. If I'm not able to make it, please have someone let me know what I can do to help for the dinner. So we had talked last month about the possibility of setting up a table to have conversations with the legislators and to take a point of view for things that we don't want to have happen and that we do want to have. So it appears that unless we get a notification that, hey, we've got an opening on a certain date, that's not going to happen this session, but we can stay involved in that. And there's always a way to contact individual legislators' offices by phone or letter. And I know of some things that we really don't want them to continue to invest our money in. The most egregious thing that I saw before the legislative session took up was the donation from our state water board and together with the State Board of Education to donate $5 million to an educational system right across the river in Ohio. So I think we need to advocate for taking responsibility for wise use of our money in our own state, where we have people who don't even have clean water over in Fayette County. And they have been suffering with bad water for almost 20 years. Now that's just, we can't put up with that.
Is that something the Republicans did?
I'm sorry?
Is that something the Republicans did?
Uh,
They're the ones
I
that are
don't-
doing.
Well, that's the administration.
Yes,
I
Pat
think
McGee,
that,
Pat McGeehan from Hancock County was the driving force behind that. It was for a Catholic organization
right.
in Steubenville, Ohio, and they wanted to have a campus in West Virginia. They used money that went from the water board that should have been going to some of our towns and counties that don't have potable water.
So it's a done deal.
Pretty much. They were dumb enough to fall for it. Patrick, Pat McGeehan got them to voted in to do that.
Hmm.
And that university has a total of 50 students.
How many teachers?
Sounds like.
How many professors?
Democrats would do.
Do what?
How many professors there with
I
those
do
50
not know.
teachers? I mean, students.
Probably 30.
I wonder what the teachers are getting paid.
Well, that's a whole nother question. The state aid schedule in the state of West Virginia was adopted decades ago. And it actually becomes an encouragement for counties, county boards of education, to consolidate the current schools and to reduce. That's how we have reduced a county with 7 or 8
8 or 9.
high schools
8 or
into
9.
2. And I have seen that happen many times when I was counsel with the West Virginia Department of Education. You have to have a hearing in that county to consider the motion to close a school. Uniformly, we would have people from those communities begging not to close the school, because to close a school is to close off the social life of a town or community. And that's what has been happening, part of what has been driving the flight of people from West Virginia to other counties. So you're right, Mr. Gaaserud. It's going to take an effort of all hands on deck to change that dynamic, both in state legislatures, local
Yes,
councils.
some of these representatives from these border, and most counties in West Virginia are border counties. A lot of these border county reps have decided just to give. We have so many problems, they're not really sure how to fix them. So they want to go talk about social issues and things that really don't pertain too much to the life of everyday people here in West Virginia, maybe in New York and California. But they've given up on even trying to think about how to stop some of these adverse outcomes. So their answer is to export things, cater to the school in Ohio as opposed to fixing the water in Fayette. And it's just not Fayette County, it's all over the state. We got bad water all over the state. Where I'm at in Parkersburg, where DuPont dump chemicals to Fayette County to Wetzel County, I mean, it's all over. But a lot of these reps don't even have any ideas on how to fix some of these problems. So they go with this, they kind of give up.
Doug, do you have anything to report? District?
Yeah, we have, we sold, 110 tickets so far. So, there's room at the restaurant for a maximum total of 60, so if you've got any prospects, hit on them in the next couple of days and let me know. I've got probably about $800 out in tickets that have not been collected, but they're coming in steadily. And we've sold $3,300 worth of ads in the program. So those are, we're going to make a little money on the dinner, but we can certainly use a few more attendees, and the more attendees that we get, the better it looks for Morrissey too. That this is his first event as governor. He suffered a bad loss in the first bill that he was proposing to do away with the certificate of need, which we talked about last time. And the vote was 13-10 in the committee. 3 people that he thought had told him that they would vote to do away with it changed their votes, and it included a doctor who obviously is a hospital-based physician, and you got the hospitals are totally controlling that, and the medical economists will tell you that medical care becomes much cheaper, much more affordable, and much more plentiful when you do away with it in your community. But there is no evidence of that. There was another article in the Charleston Gazette yesterday by Sally Pipes, where I handed out the ones at the last meeting, that said, "Do not fall for the certificate of need myth con." So Sally Pipes was writing about healthcare in the Gazette again today. You might want to look that up and read it. It was in the opinion page. But we're looking pretty good for the dinner. But if you have some friends that are candidates to come to our dinner, please sell them on it. And we will
Do
need
so
some help.
quickly.
We will need some help 4 o'clock or so to help do some of the decorating. It's going to be fairly minimal. And Ron has got us a new microphone so that the speaking should be handled well. Well, Morrissey seldom needs a microphone and bring that size. So good luck. Hope you can sell a few more tickets. As he said, the state party right now is almost destitute, and they're not planning on doing much right now. They have no employees in the office, and I've complained several times that they've done away with the calendar page on the website.
Who'd you say was destitute?
Do what?
Is that the state executive committee?
The state executive committee has no employees now. Their executive director quit, and their other person is now working in the legislature. So it's going to be up to the executive committees and the clubs and individuals to carry the party through next year, it appears.
Yeah, the party has already said, the West Virginia Republican State Party has already said that they don't plan on doing anything in 2025. So they're packing up. You're on your own, basically.
But the state chairman is going to be at our dinner, so be there at the social hour and bend his ear if you want to.
Who is that?
Matt Herridge. He was a psychologist who worked with the coronary care group, post coronary care in Charleston, and then he started several businesses in the state. So he was hired, not hired, but he was brought on board a year or so ago to be the director of finance for the state party. He's now become the chairman. So
Secretary of Commerce.
he's been, yes, Morrissey named him to the Secretary of Commerce, and he has told the executive committee that he plans to continue in both those roles and see how it goes. But my best guess is that I give him another 3 months before he resigns as the chairman of the party. I think that's a pretty good guess.
It's a good guess. And this is a guy that never showed up to a again, getting back to being in this for the right reasons. Matt Heritage had never attended a Republican function or Republican meeting before he got bored running and owning Burger Kings and decided he wants to climb to the top. Which, it's kind of weird coming out of my mouth as I'm trying to start the United States Senate, but he's basically trying to get into a major office, a federal office, and he's done this by thinking taking over the party would be good for him. So.
And now he is going to be the Secretary of Commerce, and that may divert all the other things, I suspect. So if you have any friends that are interested in being chairman of the party, encourage them. And if you see John McCutcheon at the meeting, I'm putting my urging behind John McCutcheon as chairman when Heritage finally quits. John will be at our dinner next Saturday.
We have any visitors, new members? I think we have had one member join tonight.
Yes.
Brian back there, Brian Campbell.
Brian Canterbury.
Yeah.
Ray's cousin.
Yeah.
For several years.
I'm Ray's cousin, his good-looking cousin.
Oh.
And
That's a familiar sounding name.
yeah,
You have the same barber he does.
yeah, yeah, it's me.
My
I
barber.
shaved it.
But he wears a wig.
I need more.
Oh, that's his hair.
I need more. He wears a ball cap.
Yeah.
Ready to see.
Any other matter before we go for adjournment?
I was wondering
Yes, Bob.
if Jeff Bryan or somebody from the school board could come and talk to us. If that would be, I don't know that they would, but
I was considering the possibility of raising that maybe next time. My guess would be if Jeff Bryant would have his druthers, he would never darken the door of a political committee or
Right.
club.
Especially not a Republican.
But I will touch base with it.
You know that when you address the Board of Education in Greenbrier County, according to state law, you can make a presentation, you cannot ask them any questions, and they cannot ask you any questions. By law.
If they don't want to.
No. If they want to, they cannot. The same as if they cannot, they cannot. They cannot ask a question and they cannot make a statement.
Does that apply to people who
That's applies
sign
to
up to speak?
at the monthly meeting,
Yes.
and I've done it 3 times, so I'm experienced.
Maybe you should speak again. I don't know. I have spoken to the county board over a matter, it was last year. So, no other matters being before the table. We need a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Okay. And we could also recruit someone to lead us in the final song. Who would that be?
I wonder.
I
Janie.
think I know.
Mr. Wonderful.
It's Ron Kirk will lead us.
Let us stand and sing God Bless America. God bless America, land I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the light with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
That was awesome.
Thank you for attending.